Hey, welcome to my channel. Welcome back to those who are following me, and welcome new people who just discovered. This channel was created as a place to share moments of sanctuary, which is my stories where I have observed the sacred touching with the ordinary. I also love to do unboxings. I unfortunately got to a life stage where my sons are older, and I lost one as a dependent and one as a child tax credit, and ended up owing a few more taxes than I had thought. So that's why my boxes are put on hold for a couple months while I catch up. But fear not, I will be back at it as soon as possible. Just want to be very responsible because I think it's good to be good stewards with what we've been given. So gotta pay out the tax backup, and then we'll be right to it. So today's story that I have to share, I am super excited to share. I'm going to try to tell it chronologically as I experienced it, and then it's kind of one of those awesome stories where you had no idea that things were going on over years of time that came together as a perfect accumulation of blessing. So I call this Praise Him in the Storm after the Casting Crowns song because that plays a part in the story. So I mentioned on an earlier story that I am a cancer survivor. I was on 9/11 in a hospital getting radiation. There was some mix up, and I spent most of the morning in the hospital that morning getting that treatment. I was in complete remission, took a job from Texas to Virginia. I was looking for some Christian clubs and venues for concerts, things like this nature, because I was unfamiliar with the East Coast and what went on there. And I found a church/concert place that I signed up to be on their newsletter, their email loop. And I started getting prayer requests about this little girl named Erin Browning. And this was now about 2003 that I was alerted of her story. And back on 9/11, her mother had been told that she had a terrible cancer that was going to take her life. And they began praying and trusting in the Lord, and that cancer went in remission after some aggressive chemo, after much prayer and support. It went into remission, and Erin went around dancing and speaking on behalf of the Lord when she was 9, 10 years old. Just testimony after testimony of God's goodness. As a result of some of the treatment, she had a relapse of cancer that was predominantly caused from the treatment itself. And again, she was battling. And this is where I entered her story. And we were all praying for her. And she had talked about how she had this love of casting crowns. And Mark Hall, the lead singer, also came across her story and was so inspired by their faith, by the mother standing literally on the Bible to pray over her daughter and claim the word, that he started writing the song, Praise Him in the Storm. And she never actually got to live to hear the final production of that song, for she passed away in November of 2004. And I remember that day in my office because, again, I'm on the newsletter email loop, and I got the news. And I just cried in my office. Never got to meet her or really know anybody who knew her directly, but I felt very tied and connected because of my own cancer, because of my love for teenagers and kids, and just her testimony. So just very heartbroken. In 2005, Hurricane Katrina hit in August. And the day after its big landfall, Praise Him in the Storm was released publicly. This is a song that had been in works for an entire year based off of Erin's story, and yet it came out the week just with chilling lyrics about standing firm in faith during adversity, particularly a storm. And this song began to minister to hundreds of people, just lifting it up. Newscasters started weaving in their stories with the news reports about Hurricane Katrina into the song, and it just became this healing, wonderful chant. I know the band also sent a scrapbook of people who wrote the band about the power of this song and sent it to Aaron's mother as a testimony to this. Now, in the church in Virginia I was at, 2 different people on staff happened to be from Alabama. Alabama was also hit in Katrina. We think of New Orleans, but that storm was so big and widespread and damaging, it took out the entire Gulf Coast. So we immediately sent the church van down with these families, with diapers, with water, with immediate relief, and they started taking notes of families who were predominantly English as a second language, were having trouble getting assistance. We decided that we wanted to go down and do something. And so we began putting together a mission trip that would do some short-term relief, but we wanted to take some youth and some minors, so we couldn't go down that first year because there's a lot of mold and a lot of things that are dangerous, but hurricane relief is a long-term goal. So we went down 2006 and we took 53 people. And as we gathered and we're starting to get ready to do this, I was reading Casting Crowns Life Stories devotion book about Praise Him in the Storm, and had come across that they had written the story for Aaron, and realized this is the exact girl that I had been praying for. And that was the first time that it all came together for me, that here's families in the church who had a direct need in Katrina. Katrina was used with the Casting Crowns song. They wrote it for Aaron. Aaron had touched my faith and my heart and my own cancer recovery. And now I got to be part of putting together a team to go down and help the Katrina victims. And it was just this beautiful coming together motion of praising God in the storms of life. And no matter what storms we're going through, whether it's emotional or loss of a job or an illness or a physical catastrophe like a hurricane, God works even before we knew it. Casting Crowns wasn't writing that song to encourage people for a hurricane. They had no clue that a hurricane was going to be hitting. But God uses it. Does God cause these bad things? No. But God, in His power, can bring blessings even out of the storms. So wherever you are in your storms of life, be encouraged. It may not make sense, and we may not know at the point we're at now what's going to happen farther down the road or how that's going to be used. But then one day you will open that book, or you will come across that word, or you will encounter that person, and you will see how God is at work even despite the hurricanes and the illnesses and the hardships. So may you this day remember that you have been fearfully and wonderfully made, and may you lean into discovering these own moments of sanctuary. And I can hardly wait to come back and share 3 or 4 more stories about the amazing things that happened to us in Alabama. Blessings on your day.